So we start this section of the book looking at the science behind a phobia. If you've ever heard of Pavlov and his dogs. Now, Pavlov was a Russian research scientist, and what he did, he'd ring a bell, feed a dog, ring a bell, feed a dog. Eventually, you ring a bell, dog salivates like it's about to be fed. Now, the bell had nothing to do with food, but the two become linked in the animal's neurology. Human beings do the exact same thing. So you're kissing the love of your life and there's a piece of music playing on the radio. You could hear that tune 2, 3, 10 years later, and if the emotions are strong enough, you're back there, hearing that tune, feeling those feelings. Conversely, love of your life is breaking up with you. Piece of music playing, you hear that tune 2, 3, 10 years later, you could be back there crying. So taste, smells, sights trigger us all the time. Why is this relevant to our phobia? Well, that's how we create a fear. At some point in your past, whether you're conscious of it or not, you have created a Pavlovian response, a conditioning, which makes you go, this thing equals fear. Now, sometimes these things are long before you can remember, so they might have happened when you were 2 or 3 years old. And so while you can't consciously remember, they are in the emotional mind, the subconscious. And so maybe you were chased by a dog when you were young, watched a movie, heard a conversation, something that just went in deep. And then whenever you think of that thing again in future, your mind is accessing that past emotion. So then what happens? Once your brain has decided something is dangerous, it is doing what it's supposed to do to protect you. It makes you go into fight, flight, or freeze. So you want to run away, you want to play dead, or you want to get angry and you want to fight back. Now, a lot of people with claustrophobia, say, often have the flight response. They get scared because of something that's happened in their past. They want to run away, realize they can't, and so that adrenaline has nowhere to go. So when looking at fight, flight, or freeze, everyone has a different stress response, and it tends to be the stress response that you were most rewarded for and created the least punishment. So some people often get angry whenever they're stressed. Now, they think that's a kind of power, but it's just a fear response. Now, you might not want to say that to someone who's angry. Well, you're very scared today. Do you want a hug? But that's what's going on. Now, if two people have a different stress response, it can influence each other. So let's say there's a couple and one person has a tendency to go to freeze, like a deer in the headlights, whenever they get overwhelmed or scared, and the other person goes to fight. That person who goes to fight when they're encountering a problem goes, okay, come on, we need to solve it right now, come on, let's do it. The other person is in freeze. And so the person in freeze is overwhelmed, and the more this person's getting intense, the more in freeze they are. Meanwhile, the person who's getting intense is go, come on, what are you doing? We need to solve this. So think about what's your go-to stress response and how might that be impacting other people.